let's talk about the cinematic experience because this past week, or maybe it was like a week and a half ago, AMC Theaters CEO Adam Aron, man, oh man, he went on Matt Belloni's podcast, The Town, and talked about the cinematic experience, trying to get people back in theaters, and his rival Netflix, because he has a bone to pick with them about, of course, their theatrical release window and how they don't really treat theaters well and things like that. So we made a few notes going through this interview. It was about an hour long, and we want to touch on some key topics. The first one, it kind of blew my mind. I was absolutely terrified when I heard this number. They confirmed that they're lucky if they get 15% of the theaters filled every weekend. That's terrifying. That right there is partially why I feel like the movie industry is dying,
And
because
he
not a lot of people are going.
and he was hesitant. He even said 14%'s more realistic,
Yeah.
15%'s lucky. And
Yeah.
and but I have a theory on that. And this is why I said when I was listening to this interview and I teased it on our Instagram live, I disagree with almost everything this man says. Is You know why only 15% of the seats are filled? Because you have 5,000 fucking seats. No, you can't. When you have a Cineplex that's got 17 screens showing a film 72 times a day, you are never going to fill that to capacity. It's just never going to happen. Unlike back in the day when you went to the movie theaters and it was one screen, or it was at most 4 screens, and it was spread out about how often you could see a film. You were literally waiting in lines around the building to get in, offering people money to sit in their seat or sit on the floor just to get in to see a movie because seats were limited. I think that part of the problem is the Cineplex culture. It's like everything in society where if something clicks, we've got to explode it. We've got to build it bigger, better, faster, stronger. And it's like, not always. And this has clearly backfired. They saw an opportunity where some blockbuster films were selling out and their lines were around the buildings, and there's like, maybe we need more space. Maybe we need more. Okay, maybe you did need an additional screen. Not 12 additional screens. It was just an overcorrection to not having enough seats for a blockbuster film that has now turned into what I believe was the ground floor of the problem of lack of attendance in the film. And it played out heavily during COVID, when all of a sudden now you had 10 to 15 screens in your building and nobody was able to go. And now you're like, uh-oh, right? Where you would have been losing some money if it was still only 1 or 2 screens, 600 seats as opposed to 6,000 seats in your building. But it would have been manageable as opposed to what COVID did in these giant cineplexes. That's just my thought on it. I think part of the key is downsizing. It's necessary if we're going to see any type of a rebound to pre-COVID attendance. I think downsizing has to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, especially, we've been in these big market theaters. They hold like 100,
Yeah.
200, 300 people sometimes. Like in LA and New York, these theaters are absolutely massive. And then you still have as many show times as you do there as you do in fucking Biloxi, Mississippi. That,
Right.
some days in the middle of the day, you're only selling 3 or 4 tickets or 3 or 4 groups of tickets. It's one of those things where I think you're right. You do have to downsize, but you also have to do what you think is best for the theaters, because he made a point. Of course, we talked about a week or two ago this Netflix film that came out, K-pop Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
That it came out, it was already released on Netflix, and they released a sing-along version for a theatrical experience for the fans to go and, sing along to a film that they have already seen, which is kind of crazy to me that worked successfully. They brought in about 18 to 20 million dollars that weekend over 2 days. But AMC decided to opt out of even showing this film. So I'm wondering, because AMC is one of the biggest theater chains in the world.
The biggest.
So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they would have shown this, they probably would have made a decent amount of money because of showing this, because they haven't worked with Netflix since Knives Out Glass Onion in 2022. Now they are going to be working with Greta Gerwig for Narnia and Netflix, that film in late of 2026, reports say, but from this interview, it's more about because they're appreciative and they're loyal to IMAX, and it's an IMAX film, or it's an IMAX camera that they're shooting the film on. But still, I think that is a missed opportunity because he said he has standards and he has a backbone. It's all about making money, especially right now in Hollywood, because everybody needs to make money. Everybody needs to make profit. And I was just so disappointed that he completely took this opportunity off the table to make money from this film.
Well, I mean, his argument was is that if anybody doesn't know his beef, he's good friends with Scott Stuber, who used to be the
Yeah.
head of Netflix's film production. But the initial beef came from Reed Hastings and Ted Sarandos, and it's the 45-day window, which
Hmm.
Netflix regularly abuses. They say that they're going to abide by the 45-day window, and then they'll put a movie in the theater and then take it out like 8 days later, not following through with the 45-day window. And that's where AMC has the problem. They're like, if you say you want it in theaters, you're going to have to abide by that 45-day window, otherwise it's not worth it for us. But and I don't know, Logan. I kind of agree with you. It's like, I get you want to hold true. You want 45 days because you feel like you can make the most money. It's the best opportunity. But when you need money, maybe you take those 2 days, and make some money, as opposed to holding firm to the standard of the 45 days. So yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. And we've talked about this too, and I think that when I talk about downsizing, because let's face it, these cineplexes, they're giant buildings now, right? And Paul, I'm real curious with your thoughts on this, because I'm bringing this up because of what you said earlier, with the tentpole movies and blockbuster movies, about how you want to go see them. I think that the solution is, because people do pack out theaters to go see tentpole movies. That's evident. Superman and Fantastic Four and Jurassic World, these were the drivers this season for people showing up at the theater. And people are going to see them in IMAX and the RPX theaters. So I think what you do is, with the downsize, is you take these buildings that you've got 17 screens in, and you get rid of 10 of those screens, 12 of those screens, consolidate back down to the 3 or 4 movie screens, and then take that space and give yourself an IMAX theater, or an IMAX and 2 and 3 RPX theaters, so that you have the capacity for those tentpole movies. So when people aren't waiting around the building to get in, you have the space for those tentpole movies that you can charge the higher price tickets for, and you still have the space for the regular films, for the films that we want to get people back into. And I think that's your best shot of downsizing while still maintaining the ability to capitalize on the tentpole movies. What do you think?
I definitely think that's a good idea. I don't know though. I mean, at least like where I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. So like the movies that I'm seeing, like if I try to watch it the day it comes out, I have no chance. I have to have, booked ahead of time. So like I think the way that I would maybe think about doing it is like for the first week or so that a movie comes out, keep it at capacity, how it is right now, and then afterwards, start smushing times together, start accommodating. But that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
it is very interesting too because you're trying to accommodate everyone. But I mean,
Yeah.
what we were talking about a little bit earlier when it comes to bringing people back to the cinematic experience, it's, people are wanting to see the for GPX, the
Yeah.
RPX. They want to see the IMAX. They want the better theatrical experience. Dustin and I are going on this little tear right now of researching and going back and learning about historical old Hollywood. The reason that Mr. Fox was so successful in the theater chain early on, go back and watch Titans on Netflix to learn about the early days of the theatrical experience in the studios and things like that. The reason why Fox was so successful is because he made sure that his theaters were bigger and better and cleaner and more attainable and more, pretty to look at. He wanted it to be the best experience sitting in a movie house. And that's why he was successful in New York in those early days because of that. So that's kind of what IMAX theaters are. That's what our RPX theaters are the 4DX and all of these different things. It's that theatrical experience that is different that people should gravitate more to if they had the opportunity to.
And that's the key word. You just nailed it on the head. That's why when back in the golden age of Hollywood, even though you would go to a theater and it's literally only one screen, it's not that Fox had more seats than the rest of the theaters around the country. It was the better seats. It was the experience, right? That you wanted to bring the family there. You were proud to bring it. It was a big night out. It was a big show. You got dressed up because it was an experience. And that is what we're lacking now. It's not an experience anymore unless you're sitting in an RPX theater, unless you're sitting in an IMAX theater. So again, it just goes back to my point I'm trying to make. It's not about the size and how many you have. It's about how good it is. I think that you'd see far more people packing out your theater if you only had one or two screens, if they were the best one or two screens in that state or in that city, as opposed to 17 screens where people are uncomfortable sitting or they can't get what they want. The environment sucks. It's dirty floors. It's whatever. You've got to bring back the experience of the film, which is where I think we're lacking. And if you can do that, which AMC is clearly trying, if I'm not mistaken, they were the first to integrate to the reclining chairs and make it more big, comfortable, even the couch type one. So if you are out on a date, you and your a significant other are literally together as if in a comfy couch situation, as opposed to these awkward tight chairs that you can't fit in and you got to pull the arm up to be able to cuddle and So AMC is, they're smart with that, but we need to keep building that. And because I think that is, as a kid, for me, that's what it was. That's what made it so special. I liked getting kind of dressed up and going and having to walk up to the actual box office and buy my ticket and go with the family or a group of friends and have this experience. And it's not even like that anymore. I just go to my phone, reserve my ticket, and then I go show up and I sit in this chair, and it's not the same. Maybe
You're
once
lucky
a
if you
year.
even get physical tickets anymore.
Yeah, you have to and because you and I, we save our tickets. It's like Regal will give you the ticket shaped picture. I'll print it out and cut it and look, I've got an actual ticket.
Right.
It's like you shouldn't have it just takes away from all that. And if all you're getting is once or twice a year where you can get that packed out IMAX theater with a giant crowd and you get those Avengers type reactions and whoa, and you're feeling like Superman, but if that's only once or twice a year with a couple of movies that hit, that's I want that experience every time I go to a movie, and I'm not getting it. I'll be honest, I'm not getting it.
I think the last time I had a reaction, an experience like that in a theater, was probably when Avengers Endgame came out, and nothing has compared since.
That's just that was I
Completely agree. 'Cause it felt so authentic too. Even going to Marvel movies after that, the cheers at the crowd, and sometimes it feels forced. Even with going to Spider-Man No Way Home, that was the first big one after Endgame, and even when Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield popped up on screen, the screams and cheers felt a little forced. And when Deadpool and Wolverine came, I mean, the screams and cheers, they were, I feel like, halfway genuine, halfway a little forced, but it's weird because like the culture has gotten to a point where like, yes, this is where I'm supposed to cheer. Yes, this is where I'm supposed to be quiet. Yes,
Right.
this is where I'm supposed to clap.
It's not a real
Yeah,
experience. It's a
yeah.
generated experience. You're
That
told what
that
the experience
that's
should be.
yeah, that's what it kind of felt like after Endgame. But you
Yeah.
know, we're trying to get back to a point where hopefully, you know, we can have that genuine, authentic reaction to things once again. But I will say though, AMC, they're not afraid to try things. Old Adam Aron there. I some good, some bad, because we do know that AMC has led the way in many different things when it comes to the theatrical experience. Like the first being that it probably annoys the heck out of every single one of us. It's the ads, the commercials that are in between the trailers. That is crazy. That's absolutely wild. And then they come at it from a standpoint where, like, well, if you don't want to see the ads, here's the specific time that the movie starts to where you don't have to see the ads, but you're also not going to see the trailers. I
Which
think
angers the
you're
studios. Like,
yeah, you're contradicting yourself both ways. Like you're trying to appease the studio, but you're also trying to appease the fan at the same time. It's like, especially when like a couple of years ago when there was so many so many crypto
yeah.
commercials that were out, like Matt Damon selling crypto and like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon doing their Dunkin' commercials and things like that. Like I'm not going to the movie theater to see these ads that I see every day on broadcast television. So you know, like I said, that's the bad, but I do think the good is they are implementing these discount days like Tuesdays and Wednesdays to try to bring people back in. So I think that is pretty cool. I do like that. But another one that they moved away from was the tiered pricing for the best seat selection.
Yeah.
Paul, I don't know if you remember this. It happened a couple of years ago. It was right after the pandemic, where basically the best seat in the house they're going to be charging extra for. He says it was kind of successful while they were implementing it, but the team decided to move in a different direction because there was so much backlash. And
Yeah, I
which I
think
don't,
that's stupid.
yeah,
No,
it's
I
so
would
agreed.
not
dumb
want to do that. No,
No.
because
because
you
you're watching
can,
the same movie.
yes.
I don't like that personally. No.
Yeah, it's so weird because you can like literally buy a cheaper ticket, and then if nobody's in there, you can
Yeah,
move to the
exactly.
better seat. Like you would literally have to have a security guard in there enforcing seating.
Well, and I
Like,
don't know if
Right.
you guys are like me, but I sit in the same seat every single time. Like, I do. Like, no matter what theater I'm in or what movie I'm seeing, I have a very specific, this is where I like to sit in the theater to
Right.
watch the movie. And if you're going to tell me I have to pay more money because this is the seat
Yeah,
I like to
no.
sit in, I'm going to tell you, F off. I'm not going to pay more money. This is my seat. Like, so it's one of those. But you bring up a good point, Paula. It's like whether you're sitting in my prized seat, last row, middle, boom,
Mhm.
or if you're sitting that guy against the wall on the far side of the aisle, it's the same movie. So it's
Yeah.
like to have to pay that just seems absurd to me. The other thing that they're trying, and I think because it's funny because he brought up the price point, and I think the price point is the tricky part of this one. Is he wants to take credit for the first movie subscription thing where you can do the monthly or the annual thing, and won't dive way into how he takes credit or not credit for that or whatever, but they have a pretty good subscription model. Okay,
yeah,
it's not
AMC
bad.
A-list or
Yeah,
whatever.
A
Yeah.
list, yeah, but he said that it's a little bit cheaper, that they went with a $20 model and MoviePass at the time was only doing 10, so they were kicking their ass because it was so much cheaper or whatever. So they brought down their price a little bit, to try to compete with that or whatever. But Regal is $20 a month. And Regal is killing on it because there's no restrictions. See, the problem that I still have with AMC's A-list is there's still some restrictions. You can't see a movie numerous times, or you can only see it once on opening weekend, or you can't see, two movies in one day within this time span or whatever. They've got little restrictions to it. Where Regal, You pay your $20, you can go see, you can literally walk in that morning and stay there all day and just watch movie after movie after movie. And whether that's a different movie all day or the same movie all day, they don't care. You can come, there's no restrictions on opening weekend. There's no restrictions on what theater you sit in, whether it's IMAX or regular. It's just $20 and you get everything. And they're successful. They're being successful with it. And now they're even they kind of changed and they made an offer where you can do month to month or 3 months at a time, as opposed to when you first signed up, you had to commit to a whole year. Right. And they're seeing some success. And I use that. I'm a Regal Unlimited user, and I can tell you that, like, in July, when I saw all those blockbuster movies, right, boom, 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 I paid what everybody else was paying for one ticket. What they paid to go see Jurassic World, I paid to go see Jurassic World, Fantastic Four, Superman, F1. You know, that works. So I think AMC and these other theaters have to figure that out. They have to look at Regal and go, how are they doing it? How are they seeing a profit off of it? Because if you do it incorrectly, I can see where you lose money off of it. Because you're not getting $20 a pop for every movie they go see. You're only getting $20 a month from one person, right? But somehow Regal is making it work. And I think that's the model that the rest of these theaters have to look at and go, how are they making that work? Where are they making up the money? You know, so I don't know. Just my thought. What do you guys think on that?
Ladies first.
So my brother, I'm pretty sure, has AMC. And the way that I heard about it was he told me, I think word of mouth is the best way to market something. If you hear that you're doing something and it's working out for you, you tell 3 friends, those 3 friends tell 3 friends, and that's how it explodes. So especially for Regal, if you tell them, hey, I saw 5 movies in one day, paid $20, you tell someone, they'll be like, okay, I want to get in on that. And then they get it, and then it spreads. That's how I think it works for Regal. For AMC, it's, you know, they're less lucky in that sense.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a very interesting time too, because like MoviePass came out and completely saturated the industry, and that was such a crazy situation, where, you know, they started showing blackout times where you couldn't see every movie. It had to be a MoviePass affiliated film and like all of this stuff. So I mean, I appreciate his effort of trying to come back with something like that. But with you still having the AMC versus Regal paying the same price, but you're getting so much more value with Regal than you are with AMC. Yeah, but I mean, and also too, like, not everybody is like crazy cinephiles like we are, going to go see 2 movies in a day. And I mean, sometimes there is only 1 movie to see in a month, and, you know, like or September specifically. There's probably, what did we say, Dustin, the other day, like 1 or 2 movies that we wanted to see in September.
And to be fair, that's an outstanding point, Logan. That's a fair point. Unless you're somebody that just like loves going to the movies, relentlessly goes to the movie, it's not worth it. It's better for you to just pay for whatever movie you want to go see. But if you are that person that takes your family regularly, or that you go see every movie that comes out or whatever, it's totally worth it. And it's funny because he brought up in that conversation with Matt about how, because Matt kind of was poking at him about, you don't have to sit in a theater and see ads for AMC, you know, A-list 14 times. He's like, why do I have to watch an ad about AMC when I'm already at AMC? And I will say Regal does a good job with that. Regal Unlimited, you see it one time. They say, hey, check out Regal Unlimited. Scan the, you know, the QR code and check it out. And that's it. Now, granted, I mean, we still get 30 minutes of other ads and all, but they only do their own marketing once. And where, you know, AMC does, you kind of get hammered with it.
They love that Nicole Kidman ad. That Nicole Kidman ad is like the best thing ever, and I love how they joke about that too. But yeah, final thoughts about this conversation. He came off in a way that you felt too comfortable with him, to where he came off kind of sleazy. Am I the only one who got that vibe from the Adam? Like, I feel like, you know.
I will also say I wasn't the biggest fan of the journalist. I was like, okay, I know this guy's like a multimillionaire or whatever, but like you're still kind of pushing him around a bit. I'm like, Can we
Yeah,
be civil? I
Matt's a
don't know.
dick. Yeah, Matt's
Yeah.
kind of an asshole. But sometimes you have to be because as Hollywood professionals, they like to only show you the good and not show you the bad. So he kind of has to push a little bit. But I
Yeah.
agree because there's some stuff on there I'm like, bro, you're absolutely wrong. Like, there's no way. But yeah, I mean, I will say though, I'm glad he pushes the boundary a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I will say, I'll give Adam credit for that. He did say, "No, you're actually right about that." I
Yeah,
was where Matt will never admit when he's wrong. He just doesn't
never.
admit when
Oh
he's
my
wrong. But
gosh.
Adam did. He was like, Matt, you were, I don't want to say this, but you were actually right on that point.
Yeah,
You were, but then I like, cause he pushed back a little bit, but you weren't exactly right. Here's what you were right
exactly.
about, and here's what you were wrong about, kind of a thing. So I think, yeah, it has to be that balance. But my final thought on it is, and I'm going to stick to this, and I'm going to do my damnedest to just keep pushing and make this happen. We have to downsize. We have to get back to the smaller theater. The smaller the theater, bigger the experience. That's
Mm.
my tagline, if you will. Smaller theaters, bigger experiences. And that is what's going to drive people back to. And I will hold that until I die. That is what I believe is the future of cinema, is we have to see that. And I think that's the future of the industry. You see it. Logan and I talk about it all the time, the consolidation of the studios again. The golden age of Hollywood started off with the five majors and a couple of minis. And with all these consolidations and these mergers, and we're seeing that consolidation back down to where pretty soon here, within the next 5 years or so, I think we're going to be back to, we're going to have five majors, a couple of minis, the A24s and the Neons, but you're going to have the five majors that dominate Hollywood. And I think even they got on board with, maybe we need to just reel this back in and consolidate a little bit, get back to what we do best. So I think that's my final thought on it. That's where I think the future of cinema and the theater system has to be.
Yeah, for sure. Paulie, you have any final thoughts on that conversation? Was it interesting? Was it something that you would listen to on your own?
Personally, no. But I always I always find it interesting to try to get out of my comfort zone and, learn about something that is not necessarily my number one topic.
Hmm.
I liked it. I learned a lot. I don't know if I would, go back again. But yeah.
I love the honesty. We
Yeah, no,
need that. We need more of that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's so funny.